go. Hello. Solo live today. It's funny. My roommate was here and he was like, "Oh, you going on the whatever?" And I was like, "Yep, I'm going live." He's like, "Are you a newscaster?" Yes, I am. Providing news about intuitive eating. I'm just gonna put my computer up here in case people leave comments because I feel like sometimes I don't see them on my phone. So, hello. Yeah, today I wanted to talk about emotional eating because it's a time of year where a lot of my clients kind of bring it up and seem a little discouraged by it. Here, let me put this on. Okay, y'all be able to see comments now. And I've changed my thoughts on this quite a bit. And Justine and I talked about it this summer as well. So this may seem like a repeat, but sometimes I think it's just helpful to repeat things. And we say it one way and it doesn't really sink in. And we say it a different way and it's like, oh yeah, or it just comes to you at a better time in your life and it's more helpful. So if it's repetitive, maybe it's helpful. If not, you can just, tell me, Jen, I got it already. I know. So funny story about me and emotional eating is my family like loves to tell us stories about me when I was a ski racer, and if I had a bad race, I would sit in the lodge and I would grumpily eat. I remember it as being like sleeves of Fig Newtons. My mom recalls it being donuts. So I would just like put back a whole thing of donuts. So at an early age, probably like 13 or 14 years old, I was using emotional eating to soothe myself. I was pissed, I was disappointed, and I was eating because I really didn't know how else to handle those emotions. So that has started at a very, very young age. So just a story to share. And this idea is kind of like mind blowing, but it's very possible and very likely that dieting is causing your emotional eating. You might think like, no, it's stress or it's boredom or it's this or that. But in and of itself, dieting can cause feelings of stress that lead you to eat emotionally because you're not getting like your needs met food wise. I also want to say something about what is dieting because a lot of times people are like, I don't diet, I count calories. Counting calories is dieting. People will say, I don't diet, I do my macros. Macros is dieting. And I'm going to say one here that's probably going to upset a few people. I don't diet, I do intermittent fasting. That is a diet. Anything it's describing itself as a lifestyle. It's a sheep in was it a wolf in sheep's clothing? That's the term I was looking for. Anything that takes you away from your body's natural hunger, satiety, cues, food needs, and has an outside source dictating when and how much and what you eat is a diet. So even if it says it's a lifestyle, even clean eating can be a diet because you're restricting. So once you start restricting, you can have feelings about those restrictions and that can lead to emotional eating. So there's a thought for you about that. And a lot of people think of emotional eating as a negative thing, and sometimes it's because they don't feel super well after they eat, but a lot of times it's their feelings about what they've done. So a lot of times it's guilt and shame about what they've eaten more than anything that causes more damage in the emotional eating. Actual emotional eating doesn't necessarily have to be like this big terrible thing. So that's something to think about. And you can also think of it on a continuum. So like on the one end of emotional eating continuum, you have eating for pleasure. Pleasure is an emotion. So like we want to do that, right? So we can't say all emotional eating is terrible if you're like eating because you enjoy the food and it's pleasurable. And then we move towards on the spectrum, what else do we have on there? Eating for comfort. And then it moves towards distraction. And then we get into like probably if you're emotional eating for like straight up sedation, to just like not feel anything for long periods of time, like eating yourself into a stupor, or eating because you're punishing yourself because you've broken your diet, we might be getting in the realm of needing help. But if it's more in the distraction and comfort zone, then it might not be something you need to necessarily see a therapist about. Hi, Wanda. But something to think about. So, yeah. So going on from there, there's usually like an emotional trigger when it comes to emotional eating, and boredom is a really big one. And I think a lot of these things are like, like exaggerated right now with the pandemic. Boredom is a big one, especially if you're working from home. Like, so it can be boredom because you don't want to do a tedious task, say it's something for work that you don't feel like doing, or it can be boredom because you don't have anything to do. Boredom can be something, people that are high achievers and very busy really can end up falling victim to boredom eating because they can't just rest. They can't just be still. And I'll tell you when I see this the most. Have you ever come home from work and it's that transition from work to home when you have the hardest time controlling your eating and you just kind of like eat out of control? I think part of that is you don't know what to do with yourself anymore. You're like, I was busy, 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 and now I'm not anymore. So I'm going to make myself busy by shoving food in my face because it's uncomfortable to not have anything to do. And that is why that time of night is really like can be the hardest for a lot of people. So something to think about boredom. Another trigger for emotional eating is excitement. And I think this is huge right now with the pandemic. There's nothing to look forward to. So like, it's really nice to look forward to eating something delicious, whether that's making a baller meal or getting some takeout. Like, it gives us something to freaking look forward to right now because we don't have vacations planned. We don't have parties. We don't have trips. We don't have like, dinners out with our friends. So, if a nice like takeout meal is something that you're looking forward to, I wouldn't feel bad about that. Like, it's nice to have something to be excited about. And another reason people can go to excitement as a trigger is initially when you start a diet, you kind of get like an adrenaline rush and there's a lot of excitement around the diet. And then that wears off. And so like that excitement gets transferred into excitement to like eat a lot of food because you like want that feeling again. And it's like, oh, I'm excited because now I can eat that food that I wasn't letting myself eat. So something to think about for that. So, it's, if you're eating emotionally, it doesn't have to be the worst thing in the world. I think what the important part is just slowing down and recognizing what you're doing and having an idea of how you're trying to soothe yourself. So, and you can still continue to eat emotionally, but then you can also be like, okay, I have some unmet needs. I'm going to eat this pint of ice cream or whatever. But after that, or maybe tomorrow, I'm just going to look into, like, I've been feeling a little depressed. Like, what can I do to not feel so depressed? So it's not something you necessarily have to stop in the moment, and it can give you some temporary relief, which might just be nice sometimes. And then after that, you can kind of, like, address the unmet need. So we have, like, 4 questions you can ask yourself, or 4 steps. So the first thing you can do is stop and ask yourself, am I physically hungry right now? And if the answer is no, but you still want to eat, then you're probably seeking to eat for emotional reasons. This doesn't mean that you like have this crazy battle of willpower and that you just like have to fight it off and do something else. But it does mean, you can acknowledge that that's what food is doing for you in that moment, and that's okay. Next step, what am I feeling? So this is a like part of getting to know what's going on. A lot of people that eat quote unquote emotionally aren't even really sure why they do. Or let's say a lot of people that eat when they're not hungry are not sure why. And it's most likely for emotional reasons. So this is a nice way to like get a connection with your own feelings here. So if you're like, nope, I just really want those potato chips, what am I feeling right now? Okay, well, I'm kind of just like really tired of the pandemic and I'm just sick of it all and I wish that I could go to Florida this winter, but I can't. Okay, still gonna eat the potato chips, that's fine. Or not, whatever. What do I need? All right, so that's the next question. You can even consider this like while you're emotionally eating because the food is not going to solve your problem. We all know that. But it may give you like that temporary fix. But like, what can you do coming forward? Do you need a nap? Do you need more rest? Do you need more time outside? Do you need some socialization, social connection? Do you need deep breaths? Like, you know, like what do you need? All of this intuitive eating stuff is about like learning to give your body and your mind and your heart what it needs, and you have to ask in order to know that, because we've been really disconnected from that. And particularly dieting, like it takes away our autonomy about like knowing what we need. We'll just be told what to eat. So asking yourself what you need. This is in particular for the mamas out there. Ask for help if you need it. All right. So once you've established what you need, the next step is if there's somebody else in your life that can help you with that, then like ask them. Even if it's your partner and you're just like, I need you to listen to my problem, but I just need you to listen. I don't need you to solve it for me. I just need you to tell me it's going to be okay. I need you to do the bath for the kids tonight, like whatever it is. So asking for help if you do need it. So those are some steps. Am I hungry? What am I feeling? What do I need? Asking for help. Hi, Megan. All right, so thinking about that. Another possibility, and I'm getting into the realm of talking about other things you can do besides emotional eating. That does not mean that I'm saying that you should avoid emotional eating. But if you've gotten to that point where you've like been able to stop and reflect, you could find another distraction. Because a lot of times emotional eating is a distraction from an emotion you don't want to feel. So you could choose to do something else. And, you know, here's where we kind of get into like all of these self-care things that Justine and I talk about all the time. So, you know, you could go for a walk. Justine, I miss you. She's gonna be home soon. You could go, hi Ozzy. He's staring at me, he can't get up. Going for a walk, taking a nap, calling a friend, calling a family member, writing in the journal, dancing, I don't know, working out, whatever it is. Like at this point, I think that we've like beat this whole self-care thing to death. Like people hopefully have a good idea of what works for them self-care wise. So in general, the more that you incorporate that into your life, I'm going to guess the less emotional eating will pop up for you. Some things that may happen though as you no longer emotional eat or do it less and less, you may feel your feelings a little bit stronger, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I noticed this with alcohol. It's not a direct comparison, but when I stop drinking, I sometimes have like stronger moods because I'm not numbing my moods with alcohol. So I've been on off. I didn't drink for January. I haven't had a drink in February either. And sometimes I can expect when I take those months off to like have to face my moods, or my feelings, which is good. Another thing you can do to kind of like change your relationship with emotional eating is kind of make a pros and cons list. Like, what does emotional eating do for me? And be honest, like, it tastes good. It soothes me. Like, it helps me forget what I was worrying about. It's a distraction. And then make a list of reasons why it's not serving you. And the list of reasons why it's serving you can help decrease the guilt and shame around when you do emotionally, because chances are it's going to happen. And once again, like those excess calories, that food, it's probably not making a big difference in your life, but the feelings about it, that is what's really affecting you and hurting you. But that pros and cons list can maybe have you like appreciate what it's doing for you a little bit more instead of just beating yourself up about it. And the cons list on the other end of thing can help you like, you know, maybe sometimes avoid it on certain occasions when you're like, this isn't worth it to me. Like, it's not worth these cons today. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's a big thing and you really need a break from whatever it is. But maybe sometimes it's just a little thing and you can find something else to distract yourself or another way to meet a need. So, like I said, the biggest issue I see is just that, like, people get really upset with themselves for doing that, and then the next step is to restrict. So we emotionally eat, and then they're like, well, I need to cut back. And it's just like fighting this battle that we always know the pendulum swings that way, and it's just gonna woof swing back the other way. So one of the hardest things to do is if you do emotionally eat, just like let it go and proceed on as normal. Don't try to cut back on your calories. Don't try to reduce your carbs the next day. Don't try to cut out sugar. Like, just continue to listen to your body. And chances are you're going to have like a much more steady eating than you will if you don't. I had a brain fart. There was something else that I wanted to say about that. And now I can't remember it. But I think that was it. Yeah, so hopefully, you know, that can help you. Some things that I really want you to remember. What actually is a diet? We covered that in the beginning. So intermittent fasting, paleo, hi Tom, clean eating, macros, calorie counting, those things count as diets too. So, you know, any kind of restriction, oh, I don't eat after 7 p.m., oh, I don't eat bread, unless you like have unless you have celiac disease or something. You know, I try not to eat this or that. Those things are all restrictions that are in your mind, and your emotional eating could be a consequence of those restrictions. So remember that. Remember to ask yourselves those questions. Am I hungry? What am I feeling? What do I need? And if possible, how can I ask for help? Okay, well, I hope that this is helpful to kind of reframe how you feel and think about emotional eating. I think that food is really tied to emotions, and it's tied to good emotions, and maybe it's tied to emotions that we don't like so much. But that doesn't mean that we have to. Oh, I remember the last thing I was going to say. Sorry. So say you are you're feeling like you need to like get your needs met with some emotional eating, but you try to pick healthier foods. Justine has brought this up. You're eventually going to find what you want, in that you're just going to keep eating until you like hit the sweet spot of food that you wanted. So like, say you're like, well, I just want to emotionally eat, but I'm going to have carrot sticks instead. Next thing you know, you've like eaten a whole bag of carrot sticks and you're scrounging around for the next thing. It's not gonna meet your need. So it may be better to just go for what you actually really want and not fight it. And then you won't have a lot of orange poop from eating all those carrots. All right, well, awesome. I think that the solo ones, I go a little bit less without my buddy Justine, but she'll be back in Vermont tomorrow, hopefully. Safe journey. And thanks, everybody. If you have any other questions, concerns, thoughts on this, let me know.